channel tour through the Soulsborne series. Today we're taking on a title that, to the best of my knowledge, served as a really effective gateway to the series as a whole for a lot of people, Bloodborne. We're going to be breaking this one down mechanically, kind of like we did with the first and second Dark Souls, because this is a game that, even though I haven't played it in ages, I do know fairly well. And this is where we see a turning point. Oh, I guess it's just like reloading the title screen. Never mind. We don't need the intro. We're going to see that again once we start the game proper. This is where we see a kind of a turning point in FromSoft's design philosophy in regards to these games towards a more active, kinetic, dynamic style of maneuvering and combat. Dark Souls 1 and 2, less so in Dark Souls 2, but still present in both of them, I think, was a certain deliberate clunkiness to the way characters moved, right? You had to really commit to attacks with lengthy animations and recovery times and all that. And while that's still true to a lesser extent in this game and Dark Souls 3, you'll see there's way more of a focus on really, really rapidly and efficiently dodging in and out of the fray and unleashing a bunch of lightning-fast attacks, even with relatively heavy weapons. This game is also way more constrained in its approach and streamlined in its approach to player character development. We still get a whole bunch of stats and things like that, but there's nowhere near as many armor sets and weapons in this game, though each one feels very distinct in ways that maybe all of the arms and armor in Dark Souls didn't. So, with that said, let's tuck into Bloodborne, FromSoft's exceptional one-off journey into the world of gothic horror. Hey Kyle, thanks so much for the host. Glad you're here. We're going to play online, of course, although the online component of this game doesn't, again, to the best of my knowledge, is not quite as involved as Dark Souls was. There are things like invasions, and there is co-op and all that, but it's not as prominent as it was in the other games, I would say. We're going to tuck into a new game. Oh, that's cute. Adjust slider till the man is visible and the beast invisible. That's good. Hey MC, how's it going? And Kyle says, I love how this new Gunvolt update looks. Oh no, this is something much harder than Gunvolt, but also that I know so much better.
Oh, yeah.
Let me know if the sound balance is alright.
Well, you've come to the right place. Yharnam is the home of blood administration.
So we're just here for a Victorian-era medical procedure.
But where's an outsider like yourself to begin? Easy, with a bit of Yharnam blood of your own. But first, you'll need a contract.
I absolutely love the atmosphere of this game. This is, again, meant to be like a gothic, sort of Van Helsing style body horror game, at least at first. It comes complete with a really solid plot twist midway through that I don't want to spoil, but most people who are familiar with this game by now is already aware as to what exactly it is. But, for the time being, it's just a standard, like, gothic, lycanthropic body horror, and it's done really, really well. Okay, so character creation in this game does work a little bit different. Cal says, the only thing I don't like about Dark Souls games is you need to watch 1,000 hours off of someone from YouTube to get most of the story. Well, to get certain interpretations of the story. The lore is generally pretty open-ended, and depending on the way you can read it, you might come away with a totally different understanding of the story that's just as valid. MC can tell you that my interpretation, for instance, of the Dark Souls 1 story is a little more cut and dried than most people's. And Spanner says, golly gosh, this phone's speakers are way better. Oh, you finally got that new phone, man. Congratulations. I hope you're liking it so far. So, character creation works a bit differently here. We've got like a couple purely aesthetic things, gender, age. We'll be young, because at least physically I am. Let's see. We could be a young man with an old man's voice. Character creation doesn't really matter extensively, or a whole lot to me, because this is a FromSoft game, and that means your character is going to be ugly no matter what you do. We will change our hair, though. There we are, maybe. Like something a bit longer. That'll do. I do typically customize my hair and then eye color and probably nothing else. MC says, yeah, Brady gave a pretty interesting reading of the lore of Dark Souls. My reading of the series is relatively unnuanced. It's, I view it as a pretty straightforward matter of the darkness isn't evil, people have abused the light and the fire, and you have a chance to change that if you'd be so inclined. Let's go for those luxurious lashes. Pupils. Oh wait, color of pupils. Oh, cool, we could do this. Yeah, let's go for it. Why not? Cal says, character creation doesn't matter, spends an hour on it, this sure is Dark Souls. It really is. You try to avoid getting, like, sucked in by the character creator, but you just can't help it. No, let's, yeah, there we go. We'll go for something vaguely golden. And MC says, I would say Hand of Fate 1 and 2 have equally in-depth stories that most never quite notice. Because of the segmented way it's presented to you, yeah, but I would say you're absolutely correct. The second game in particular, also, the second game does a better job of presenting a coherent story to players that maybe they wouldn't catch the first time through in the first game. So, okay, what can we do here? You've got all the build options from the first and second Dark Souls games. We'll go a little on the slim side. Now, if you recall, in the Dark Souls series, we got to choose from a number of builds to begin the game with, right? And that would change everything from your armor to your weapons. In Dark Souls 2, the items you began with, like your consumables and things like that, and your stats. In Bloodborne, absolutely none of this applies. However, you do get to choose from a number of origins which will adjust your default stats. Now, here, we can see our stats on the right side of the screen, and I'll give you a quick breakdown of what they all mean. Level is self-explanatory. Blood echoes replace souls in this entry. They serve both as experience and currency. Well, one form of currency. There's another that we can find fairly early on. MC says, did you know that a lot of the story of the first Hand of Fate is delivered through the wild cards? Yes, actually. Those special origins and builds with their own quest lines that you can play around with as of a special DLC update, I want to say. A lot of the lore is delivered through the wild cards, and then those special, like, color-coded DLC quest lines, right? Vitality, I believe it manages health exclusively in this game. There's no, like, other stats or major stats correlated to it, I don't think. Endurance works similarly with stamina and stamina regeneration. Strength carries over from Dark Souls. It allows you to wield bigger and burlier weapons more effectively and deal more damage. Skill replaces dexterity and allows you to operate more complex weapons. And is typically better for a faster, kind of smoother build. Blood Tinge is a very niche stat. I don't recall ever dumping a point into Blood Tinge in my first playthrough. but it will manage our effectiveness at using firearms, a special new type of weapon wielded in the offhand that replace, say, catalysts and shields and talismans as, like, supplementary gear. Blood Tinge has an effect on the way very specific normal melee weapons operate, but we'll address that when we actually get to those weapons. For the most part, just think Blood Tinge, guns. And lastly, Arcane, not quite as interesting as it sounds. It simply increases the ease with which we can use various artifacts we come across in the game that give us short-term but renewable buffs. Like there's one that allows you to dodge more easily, one that may, say, make your weapon or your firearm more powerful temporarily, and things like that. Arcane just kind of increases the duration of and potency of those buffs. Hell says Bloodborne 100% speedrun. Oh no. I'm not Jesus, here's toast. By the way, that guy did a Bloodborne speedrun at one of the GDQ events you can find online. Jesus, here's toast. He did a phenomenal job and is one of the most entertaining and, I would say, like, affable speedrunners I've ever seen. MC says, yep, like the beginner difficulty and harder difficulty represents the main character of Hand of Fate 1, so Callus, at different points of his life. Yeah, because in Hand of Fate 2, Callus is referred to as alternately the Usurper or the Warlord, and I believe the Warlord was the hard difficulty in Hand of Fate 1. So anyway, there's a quick rundown of our stats, okay? Milk Toast is nice and balanced. The Waste of Skin is much like the Deprived in the first game, with a much harsher description. Jeez. MC says that's correct. Nice. But starting at a lower level allows you to level up your character in exactly the way you want, relatively cheaply. The Lone Survivor has high vitality and reasonable stamina. The Troubled Childhood begins with high stamina and dexterity. That's a pretty good one. The Violent Past emphasizes strength. Professional emphasizes skill. The Military Veteran actually seems very well-rounded, save for low arcane. The Noble Scion has high Blood Tinge, and Cruel Fate has high arcane. This is like someone who's been born under an unfortunate star. We are actually going to go professional, I think. Yeah? Cal says, this description, yeah, you are nothing, talentless, shouldn't have been born, From Software is toxic. Well, they know how to speak to their player base. I'm actually thinking Troubled Childhood might be better, if only because it has a more balanced distribution between endurance and skill. MC says professional waste of skin. There's a joke I want to make about new metal artists there, but I won't. I think this is fine. We'll go professional. So here's our character, looking about as good as a FromSoft protagonist can. Let's dive right into Bloodborne. Remember, we're signing a contract with that mysterious wheelchair-bound doctor to receive a blood ministration, a special type of medical procedure, apparently available only in the ancient and prosperous city of Yharnam, our main location. Yharnam looks cool as all hell, for the record. The game was patched not long after release to drastically improve loading screens, or loading times, I think. Originally, they were quite bad across the board. Speaking of, this disc, like my Dark Souls 2 disc, has on occasion had mild issues, so it may or may not stop working. Fingers crossed, right?
Good. All signed and sealed. Now, let's begin the transfusion. Oh, don't you worry. Whatever happens, you may think it all a mere bad dream.
Again, let me know if the audio balance is off. So So what exactly happens during this procedure, you may ask? Well, the doctor's assistants kind of take over from here. You can tell we're in the cleanest clinic in the world. Don't worry, all part of the procedure. Oh, that is gnarly looking, isn't it? Cal says demon children. Well, we're getting there, we're getting there. So they actually do a pretty good job of presenting conventional lichens in a kind of interesting way in this game. And yeah, here's the doctor's assistants. These are the messengers. Believe it or not, these are our friends. They're going to be helping us through the entire game.
Ah, you found yourself a hunter.
Yeah, so that happened. We wake up none the worse for wear, I suppose. Oh, this is a message left by another player, borne aloft by their messengers wearing snazzy little hats. Cal says as they suck you into the nightmare. Well, we'll see now. Remember, I'm presenting this as if my audience has no idea what's going on. So, what do we notice right off the bat? Well, we are locked in from that side. We are unarmed. But notice that we move a bit faster, naturally. And our attacks, if you can call them that, our ridiculous karate chops, are actually very fast. See? Check that out. Likewise, with our even our heavy attack is relatively fast. Seek pale blood to transcend the hunt. Cal says the first time I played, I couldn't see the messages that gave you gear because all the online stuff. So I was just walking around like, what do I do? Oh yeah, you couldn't make out which were the tutorial messages, right? I don't think the first time I played this was online, but I can imagine that would have been rough. So we start out with, like, I think they call it foreigner's garb? Yeah. Clothing worn upon awakening to the nightmare of blood and beasts. Not typical clothing for Yharnam. Perhaps it's of foreign origin. It is said, after all, the traveler came to Yharnam from afar. Without memory, who will ever know? We got bandages in place of actual, like, gauntlets or anything. Terribly worn and unsanitary. Again, we have the best clinic. A faint memory recalls blood ministration, involving the transfusion of unknown blood, not long after the nightmare began. And the hood. Perhaps it's where I had to stay out of sight and travel by cover of darkness. So first thing, I'm going to unequip that hood for now. Armor matters very little in this game. More or less you go with whatever you like, or whatever looks best. It doesn't make a massive difference, save very specific armor sets. So the way here is open, and first off, as you can see, for like a Victorian-esque setting, the devs have really knocked themselves out with the aesthetics and architecture of this area, and the same holds true for the entire city. They actually did a very good job transitioning from, like, sort of the medieval high fantasy, or dark fantasy / fairy tale aesthetics of the first couple Dark Souls games to this, I think. So here we are. And there's another one of those nasty lichens. But if you notice, it's already weakened. Now, pro tip, this thing is supposed to kill you your first time through. And it may... Yeah, Kyle says Hellhound. It effectively is. It may well kill me here because it's been ages since I played this game. But it is still entirely possible to actually take it down. You can see I'm more or less dual-wielding now, which means I can fight like Captain Kirk. Not the best idea. We transition between the two forms, but hold on, let's oh, I was gonna see if we couldn't charge up our heavy attack to do a backstab. You have to charge up your attacks, your heavy attacks, and hit enemies from behind to do a backstab, which here takes the form of, oh, something I never want to experience. Yeah, in place of a backstab, you just shove your hand right up its ass. Oh, and the same applies even when we get weapons, by the way. We actually, if we perform a backstab or a parry, unequip our weapon and shove our hand up our target's ass. This is a thing for the entire game, and you can do it, like, to bosses as well. It's amazing. So we got a Bloodstone Shard. A solid shard that forms in cold blood, which is basically solidified special blood. After death, a substance in the blood hardens, and that which does not crystallize is called a bloodstone. At the workshop, these bloodstones are embedded in weapons to fortify them. So, Yharnam has a very strange, kind of pseudo-religious, blood-centric culture. And their arts and sciences are based around the formation and consumption of a number of blood-based substances. Here we have our Estus Flask stand-in, the Blood Vial. Where is it? Oh, Blood Vials might not have, may not have an item description, but they are consumable. We do not start out with a default number of them, as you do with Estus Flask charges in Dark Souls. You consume them, they're gone forever, and we use them with a quick press of the triangle button. So we emerge in the courtyard of this clinic, and you might think this bodes ill for the clinic's reputation, you know, having their entire yard be a gigantic, like, lich yard. But it's not. It's not. Yharnam is just like this. There's headstones and caskets and mourning statuary everywhere. It's a very cool atmospheric setting, I think. And, one that's also pretty unique, I dare say. So we can hear something large stamping around. We got some bullets, quicksilver bullets, perfect for hunting those beasts. But nothing to use them with yet. So what we're gonna want to do is head to our home base as soon as we can. Normally, if we died to the Lycan, we would be sent there. But, since we didn't, we're going to have to find our way to it from central Yharnam. What a gorgeous area, huh? Seriously, it's been so long since I've played this game, I'm just blown away by the visuals. Get more blood vials, always a good thing to have. As you can see, things have been better here. Standard for a FromSoft story, but yeah, as it turns out, those beasts have been ravaging the city for ages. And the populace has gone a little loopy in their fear. This is, a Yharnamite hunter. He's largely lucid, but he believes somehow that we are one of the beasts. He sees us as one of them. Also, he hurts like hell, so we're going to run. We're going to pull this switch, which should lower the ladder for us. Get more blood vials. Uh-oh, there's another one with a cleaver. Cal says a beast that is punching him to death. Well, like... keep that noise in mind. We're going to be finding out what that was before too long. Like a lot of Victorian horror, the concept of madness and, like, a revocation of, Jesus, common sense plays a very, very big part in Bloodborne's story. They see this human, like, frantically karate chopping at them, a la William Shatner, as, some horrific four-legged monstrosity. That's how far gone they are. Now, important for Bloodborne, anytime you see a lamp glowing with this softish pink light, that indicates a window or door nearby you can speak to an NPC through.
Oh, you must be a hunter. And not one from around here either. I'm Gilbert, a fellow outsider. You must have had a fine time of it. Yarnum has a special way of treating guests. Well, I don't think I could stand if I wanted to, but I'm willing to help if there's anything that can be done.
So a lot of people around here are sick. Horribly, terribly sick.
Whatever your reasons might be, you should plan a swift exit. Whatever can be gained from this place, it will do more harm than good.
And as the end result of the sickness, a lot of sufferers end up transforming into those lycanthropic beasts like the ones found in the intro movie and the clinic.
Pale blood, you say? Never heard of it. But if it's blood you're interested in, you should try the Healing Church. The church controls all knowledge on blood ministration and all varieties of blood. Across the valley to the east of Yarnum lies the town of the Healing Church, known as the Cathedral Ward. And deep within Cathedral Ward is the old Grand Cathedral, the birthplace of the Healing Church's special blood, or so they say. Yarnumites don't share much with outsiders. Normally they wouldn't let you near the place, but the hunt is on tonight. This might be your chance. Across the valley to the deep within.
Right, okay. So, right off the bat, we have got our objective, the Healing Church, which is, I believe, right over there. We have to find our way into their special, closely guarded district of town, and hopefully gain access to their records so we can identify, well, first off, what pale blood is, and second, where we can find it. The religious life of Yarnum is a central theme in the story here, and as you can probably tell from this statuary, it gets really, really weird. In a good way, a very interesting good way. Notice many of these caskets are chained shut, as if people were afraid of whatever lies inside breaking out. Now, in place of bonfires in this game, we have lamps. We set a light to a lamp, and then our buddies the messengers crawl out and will support us from there. This lamp now transports you back to the hunter's dream. Upon death, you'll awaken at this lamp. So, let's head to this dream, our home base for the game as it happens. Cal says, can't tell if those bells were on purpose or perfectly timed. I honestly don't know. Do the bells sound when other players online accomplish specific tasks like they did in Dark Souls? I do not know. So this is the hunter's dream. Expect to see a whole lot of this place. Like the rest of the game, though, visually it's absolutely stunning. We'll explore around a little bit. There's a gated-off garden over here we can't access quite yet, filled with these beautiful flowers. There's a doll just thrown up against the wall here. A number of headstones that give us access to very special side content later on in the game. Can't do anything with those yet. These headstones, which allow us to teleport between... MC says the doll is evil. Oh, just you wait. Just you wait. These 4 headstones allow us to transport between the major settings of the game. So there's like 4 almost like 4 distinct worlds, and we get to teleport, not dimensions per se, but like distinct environs, and we get to transport to each of them later on. As you can see, for Yharnam, we've got a pretty standard looking headstone, a very ornate one. We've got this rather plain looking one. We've got an old, kind of unusual looking headstone. It looks much older than the other two. And then we've got one that is split in 2 and appears to be lined with some type of blood-like material on the interior. Cal says, burn the witch, and MC says, wish the burns. Oh, you'll see. The doll actually does have a purpose. But first, before we discover what that is, we need to accept a gift, a weapon from the messengers. So, right, here's how weapons work in Bloodborne. There's nowhere near as many of them as there are in Dark Souls, but they're way more distinct on the whole. Each weapon is, by default, a one-hander, and they're just wielded normally in the right hand with, again, a firearm typically wielded in the left hand. Now, your weapon, called a trick weapon, regardless of what it is, will invariably have 2 forms. Forms which can be alternated between by, I believe, on PlayStation 4, pressing the left bumper. Now, by doing that, you will cause your standard melee weapon to take on one of a variety of different forms, particular to the weapon. Now, in a lot of cases, your weapon has a default light and an alternate kind of heavy attack mode, but especially as we go on deeper into the game and uncovering more niche weapons, we'll see a lot of these have very, very unique alternate forms. We get 3 to choose between by default. We have the kind of ugly-looking roughshod saw cleaver. It looks like a giant straight razor. One of the trick weapons of the workshop, commonly used in the hunting business. This saw, effective at drawing the blood of beasts, transforms into a long cleaver that makes use of centrifugal force. The saw, with its set of bloodletting teeth, has become a symbol of the hunt, and only grows in effectiveness the more grotesquely transformed the beast. That's very true. Against lycanthropic-style beasts, saw weapons actually deal increased damage, I believe. But this weird-looking weapon is typically gripped in its default form, I want to say along the shaft in the little, like, groove created by the blade there, and you kind of punch out with it, or swing it about roughly as your standard attack. But press the alternate form button, and you flip that blade out, and as they say, start wielding it like a massive cleaver, or more in the style of an oversized switchblade or straight razor. It's kind of the balanced default weapon. If you want to go power, you go for the Hunter's Axe. Retains the qualities of an axe, but offers a wider palette of attacks by transforming. Boasts a heavy blunt attack leading to high rally potential. No matter their pasts, beasts are no more than beasts. Some choose this axe to play the part of executioner. So, yeah, again, by default it's a heavy weapon, but transform it and you actually extend the shaft like a telescopic baton and start wielding it like a two-handed heavy battle axe. It's really, really cool. That's your power weapon. But me, I'm a man of class, of sophistication, and I always favor a quick, dexterous build, and for that we're going for my favorite weapon in the entire Soulsborne series, the Threaded Cane. Sufficiently deadly as a rigid-bladed cane, so kinda like a broadsword moveset from Dark Souls, but also serves as a whip when its blade is split into many. That's so cool, just the coolest transformation. Concealing the weapon inside the cane and flogging the beasts with a whip is partly an act of ceremony, an attempt to demonstrate to oneself that the bloodlust of the hunt will never encroach upon the soul. We're going Threaded Cane. They also offer us a choice between 2 firearms. Now, firearms for the most part are not used to deal damage, unless you're going for a very specific type of build in this game. Instead, they are used to interrupt enemy attacks and initiate what effectively take the place of parries in this game. If you shoot an enemy just as they're preparing to, like, execute an attack, you'll knock them off balance and will then leave them open to a visceral attack from the front. MC says next is the story of the latex suit and Brady's wardrobe. Hey, now, not quite. I'm actually just a huge, big-time lover of formal wear. I think the cane part is much cooler than the whip part. I actually have, like, a theatrical dress cane in my closet for use as a presentation pointer more than anything else, but I do. So, sorry, the point is, since you rely on guns for parrying more than anything else, unless you go for a very specific build, you don't need to go fancy. You need something easy and reliable, like the Hunter's pistol. Hunter firearms are specially crafted to employ quicksilver bullets fused with the wielder's own blood, boosting damage against beasts. The pistol is a quicker draw than the blunderbuss, allowing for speedier responses to attacks. But if you want that spread shot, here you go. Hunter firearms, blah blah blah. The impact of this highly effective weapon counters beasts' swift movements, and its widespread is nigh on guaranteed to hit the mark. I'm going for the standard pistol. We can get whatever we passed on here later. We also got the notebook that allows us to leave messages for others. Pretty handy, I suppose. We can equip up to 2 weapons and 2, like, firearms at a time. This is how we're going to be looking in terms of our equipment loadout for most of the game, armor aside. Now, in here, in this nice, cozy little study, we'll meet one of our 2 main allies for the game, Gurman. One of the quote-unquote old hunters.
Aha. You must be the new hunter. Welcome to the hunter's dream. This will be your home for now. I am... Gehrman. Friend to you hunters. You're sure to be in a fine haze about now, but don't think too hard about all of this. Just go out and kill a few beasts. It's for your own good.
God, look at how long our fingers are.
That's what hunters
Jeez.
do. You'll get used to it. This was once a safe haven for hunters. A workshop where hunters used blood to enhance their weapons and flesh. We don't have.
Cal says, "Whip the beasts." Oh, we will. Don't you worry.
Welcome to use whatever you find. Even the dog, should it please you.
Ew. Ew. So you know, the context of that line is Gurman fashioned that doll after a woman he was infatuated with in youth and has been separated from for a very long time. So, yeah.
This was once the word.
Yeah. Thanks, Gurman. We'll be going far away now. So, if we find certain tools, we can bring them back to the workshop. To do things like fortify our weapons in certain exciting ways. There's also a massive chest where we can drop off items we don't need, much like the storage boxes from Dark Souls. Over here, around the side of the workshop, we can find a bunch of messengers living in the stump, or we can later on. Messengers will appear here which act as special merchants using a special type of currency. You may notice that symbol of an open eye in the upper right under our Blood Echoes counter. That corresponds to the second type of currency we can use in this game, and one that's, in my opinion, far more important. Because it has ramifications not only for our mechanics, not only for our inventory, but for the story. The messenger in the bath here will act as a merchant, selling us basic consumables, and later on things like armor, like this Yharnam Hunter set we want to get as soon as possible because it looks cool. Can't do anything with the doll. So we have no choice but to head back to Yharnam and start hunting. After all, we need to find out about Pale Blood to somehow get out of this mess we found ourselves thrown in, and the only way to do that is to fight our way into the church's stronghold. So we're gonna have to hunt our way through central Yharnam. And all of the just horrible things that have taken refuge in its streets. So, let's check out that new weapon, shall we? It's got a nice broad swing, a strong thrust as its default strong attack, but if I swap forms with the L1 button, hey, check that out, would ya? A much broader, like, crowd control attack. Doesn't deal too much more damage than the standard attack does, but my god, is it perfect for taking on several weaker enemies at a time. Something that will be far more common in Bloodborne than it was in Dark Souls, and you turn it back into a cane by tapping it against the ground. How awesome is that? Let's try out our new weapon against a new friend. Look at how much more damage that deals. Let me see if I can't show y'all a parry while we're at it. I may or may not. Yeah, I'm really rusty. So this fine gentleman with the cleaver may come at us. Whoops, didn't hit. But it's fine. There we go. You parry an enemy, just shove that hand right on into that torso, and get yourself some blood. He dropped Molotov cocktails, which are effectively just like the firebomb XPs for this game. One of the oldest hunter tools available in the workshop. Since the tragedy that struck Old Yharnam, fire has become a staple in beast hunts and is thought to cleanse impurity. Certain types of beasts have an abnormal fear of flame. That is very true. Fire is going to be one of your best friends when you're fighting beasts. Now, a special mechanic introduced in Bloodborne is the rallying system. To explain this now, so I won't forget to do so later, whenever we take damage, we will lose a very small portion of our health permanently, instantly, which can only be regained through the use of blood vials or resting at a lamp. But we will also lose some health that will be temporarily marked on our health bar by an orange effect. If we attack enemies before that bar diminishes, which it will do slowly over time, we can earn back some of the health we lost, called rallying. This is to further encourage the aggressive playstyle the devs wanted you to go for here, along with, say, removing shields almost entirely and making characters faster and more agile. Earn some pebbles, we can use those to light distract enemies, I believe. Kyle says, fire bad, fire scary. Well, here, that's certainly the case. Look, there's a massive procession of Yharnam hunters moving along the street. There's a bunch of different varieties of these guys. Most of them ain't anything to write home about, but as you can see, even though they are technically human, they've seen much better days. They're looking very kind of haggard and pale. Here's one with a shield made out of wood and a torch. That'll work well. Ooh. This is what the whip was made for. Ow. Oh, I love the threaded cane so much. But its standard form is better for dealing with these guys, I believe. Luckily, the Yharnam hunters will be dropping blood vials left, right, and center. Some of them drop bullets as well. As you can see, the beasts are dealt with in some really horrific ways when they're discovered. So, I'm tempted to take on kind of this area's equivalent of a Black Knight, as in a mid-game enemy we can fight early on when they're really, really dangerous. I mean, there's no chance of us losing anything but our life, which is cheap in Bloodborne, so let's take on this Executioner, this big bulky guy with an axe. He is technically a sort of hunter as well. Except, he's not entirely human. Oh no, wait, he was vulnerable. My bad. There we go. And he gives us several blood vials. Look at him, though. Jeez. What a big guy, wearing some very ornate armor. Don't worry about random item drops in this game. Enemies do not drop their arms or armor, except in very, very special instances. I don't know that there's anything else back here for now. He and, like, all the blood echoes he dropped may have just been our reward. But notice we did open a shortcut back to the clinic. I'm actually gonna head back up here for now. Because remember, there is that massive procession of Yarnamites moving toward the square. And we're gonna want to deal with them strategically. Oh no, we do just drop down, don't we? Okay, never mind. Someone else we can talk to.
Are you that outsider? Well, sorry, but I don't want anything to do with you. Trot along, will ya? Are you that well, trot
Yeah, the Yarnamites are a real friendly bunch. Sounds like whoever's in there is having a fun time, eh? So this game does a phenomenal job, I would say better than the Dark Souls games, of setting its tone very early on, because unlike Dark Souls, we're not in like a world that has effectively fallen apart and is largely desolate. This is still a populated, like, reasonably functional, believe it or not, society. It's just one that's very disturbing to our senses. Like, all the people are here, just most of them are completely mad.
Lads, you've come on. You'd open the door on a night of a hunt. Away with you. Now.
And with many references to the hunt as an institution, we can ascertain that whatever this is, the crazy lichens, people going mad and attacking each other, the streets being covered in burning beasts and chained up caskets, this is just a regular thing around here. This happens with some regularity. This is a Yarnamite with a rifle. He will actually use it if we were to get some distance away from him. Yarnamites with rifles will actually be your primary source of Quicksilver bullets in this very early stage of the game. Hello there. Goodbye. Now, the first time I played this game with my best friend right when it came out, we had so much trouble trying to adapt to the way this game wanted us to play. This area alone took us ages, and by ages I mean like probably half an hour or something to get past. It felt like ages. We died left, right, and center. But man, once it clicked, this game was so much fun. Ow.
This time's finished.
And again, notice all the headstones just kind of strewn about all over the place. Like, this place, Yharnam is gorgeous aesthetically, very striking, but it's an absolute wreck. Notice that everybody's congregating around that massive burning beast in the square, and there's a couple riflemen positioned all around. Like that guy atop the coach over there. MC says Dark Souls is about trying to save a land that died long ago. Bloodborne is about preventing the end. I would argue that even though it has a desolate world, Dark Souls 2 is, or uses a similar theme. Oh! Almost dead. Almost dead. My bad. I forgot that some of them have cutlasses. Luckily, they dropped more than enough blood vials for me to keep going. But yeah, MC, you're absolutely right. This, things, at least in theory, can get better around here, just like they could in Drangleic. But, in Lordred, it was over. Gwen and friends had totally, like, lost their chance at saving society. Ow. Whoopsie. Sorry, this is gonna take me a minute to kind of reacclimate myself to how this game plays in particular. Oh wait, here we are. Oh, we got dogs, by the way. Of course. That actually makes sense. They are crazed hunting dogs. Oh! But we die right off the bat. Yeah, that's Bloodborne for you. We haven't unlocked the mechanic that allows us to level up yet, but once we do, we can become a lot hardier, or also a lot more damaging really quickly. So don't worry about these early missteps. They will happen. But once we're maybe 2 bosses in, we should be able to create a much stronger character. Operant word should. MC says Bloodborne can choose to kill you whenever. It really can, but once we get a slightly more resilient character, the likelihood of that happening will be reduced considerably. But you're absolutely right in pointing out that compared to Dark Souls, death can come really quickly and kind of suddenly in this game, because its pace is so much faster. These early sections in particular actually, in my opinion, throw more enemies at you than many later game areas do, making them a real trial by fire for new players. Also, there's so many enemy types right off the bat, yeah? I quite like it, but it's demanding, even relative to the 2 Dark Souls games. Okay, so a couple ways of doing this. I'm going to try to kite a couple members of the mob, real quick. Yeah, that worked pretty well. This is the other thing your firearm is typically pretty good at. Drawing enemies' attention. That got him. Good. Now if we work our way around, we should be able to pick them off more intelligently. So I think our whip actually deals less damage than the standard cane form does, but the wide berth of its attacks makes it preferable, I believe, for taking on numerous, relatively low HP enemies like these, except when it bounces off of a lamppost. Oh, jeez. thing about Bloodborne is, unlike Dark Souls, everything is fast. You're much faster, yes, but so are many of your enemies. Oh, damn. That's technically a 4-hit combo. Alright, we can manage this. Molotov cocktail, sir? It's a lot of fun. Fire is your best friend in the early game. It really, really is. Oh, it's the dogs. How on earth could I forget about the dogs? MC says Dark Souls, but with Hand of Fate's Demon Heart curse. Yeah, more or less. You deal more damage, you're a lot faster, but the same is true for almost everything else. Oh, except instead of leaving bloodstains, enemies, whatever killed you, typically absorbs your blood echoes, and you have to kill or maim them to get it back. So say if a boss kills you, you just have to deal X amount of damage to it, I think, to get your echoes back, maybe? Maybe, kinda, sorta. And if a standard enemy kills you, you do then have to deal a death blow to them to get all of your blood back. Or, I shouldn't say a death blow, because I think that's what they call the, special finishers in this game. You have to kill them to get your echoes back. There we go. But see, now that we know what we're doing, look how easy it was to clear out that entire plaza. Nice and quickly, too, but oh, that's one of the big ones up there. And speaking of big ones, there's something that desperately wants out on the other side of these doors. And we're headed right over there in just a minute. How lovely. What's over here? Cold Blood Dew. This is basically like the, consumable souls from the first, or the Dark Souls games. Droplet of cold blood containing blood echoes. Hunters sustained by the dream gain strength from blood echoes. They imbibe the blood with their thoughts of reverence, indeed gratitude, for their victims. Well, things are shaping up in a really rosy way over here, ain't they? Another Bloodstone Shard. Now that we've got 3 of them, we can upgrade Arcane. Blood Vials. And before long, we should meet one... I do love the random top hats just scattered about. Before long, we should meet some of my favorite enemies in the game.
I don't reckon you're from round here. Well, stuck outside on a night of the hunt. How you poor, poor thing.
Yeah, the Yarnmites are kind of horrible. And this isn't like Dark Souls, where everybody's, like, mad or slowly hollowing. Plenty of normal people are around here, just most of them are terrible. So in this beautiful fountain plaza, or somewhere around here, we should meet the birds for the first time. Again, some of my favorite enemies, the crows. Yeah, because look, you, like, get close, and they're very weak enemies. But their only attack is freaking out. Like, they make a bunch of noise and flap their wings and all that, and don't deal much damage at all. But they really serve almost exclusively as jump scares in this game. Until you hit the late game. They're not real threats, they're just big old crows too fat to fly efficiently, dragging themselves along the ground, and they're pretty cool in my opinion. We did get some oil urns. Drenches targets in oil, increases their fire, their weakness to fire. Fire is commonplace on the hunt, and oil urns accentuate its effect. Sometimes, when hunters burn beasts, they appear intoxicated by the euphoria of purification. Ugh. So, that thing beating on the gate is this kind of ogre-looking fella, who is, believe it or not, one of the hunters, who has been transformed by some bizarre process. And he fights with a brick. He's really easy to parry, though. He telegraphs his attacks really clearly, and so you can counterattack him very, very easily. Which is good, because he hurts like you wouldn't believe. He dropped a torch for us, as well as some Molotov cocktails. Now, a torch is a weapon-ish thing that can be equipped in the offhand, if you'd like. A common torch formed by wrapping a pine resin-drenched cloth around the end of a long stick. Hunters choose torches not only because the hunt leads them to the darkest nooks, but also because certain creatures they encounter are possessed of a deathly fear of flame. So we could swap to that, and yeah, it does actually do a decent amount of fire damage that will harm, but also in some cases panic beasts. Similar to the way that we dealt with the Dark Dwellers from Dark Souls 2, if you recall, waving a torch around in their face kind of caused them to freak out. You hear that music box? We want to find that music box, believe you me. That music box is going to come in extra handy before too long. That's a shortcut, though. Lots of dogs up here. The dogs are worse than they were in Souls 2, I would say. Not as bad as Souls 1 dogs, though. And nowhere near as bad as Souls 3 dogs. There's someone with a rifle taking pot shots at us from the other side of the well. Not a big deal right now, because... Whoa! Jesus. Down, boy. How can you not tell the difference between a man and a beast? Lots of blood vials, lots of bullets, that's very good. Any excess... I think we can carry a maximum by default of 20 blood vials and 20 bullets, and any excess we collect will automatically be sent to the Hunter's Dream, and anytime we, I believe, we die, they will automatically be filtered into our supplies to make up the difference between our current, or whatever we died with, and 20. So, welcome to the bridge. The bridge is home to Lycans, full power Lycans, and several of them, and they're very frightening. We're not going to try fighting those right up there just yet, but our first boss is right down that way. Past the Lycans, of course. But before we take it on, we want to explore a little bit more and also grab ourselves some upgrade materials. Yharnam is a sprawling Byzantine location, which... Oh! Didn't mean to fall down here. Not yet, not yet. No! Ah! Crap. Well, looks like we're stuck until we get down there. Welcome to the sewers-ish of Yharnam. We're not meant to be down here yet. Lots of powerful and hungry things down here. Including these sort of bestial hunters. That guy with the torch, he is partially transformed. And wields larger weapons with remarkable ease. We're going to try getting around now. There we go. Some more pebbles, just in case we need them. We won't. More bloodstone, that's the stuff I like to see. Oh, and don't worry about weapon durability and the like. I'm fairly certain it may not even be an issue in this game. Is it? Hold on. So it is, but it may also automatically repair every time you rest at a shrine, or lamp, I should say. So we need to take down a couple lichens, I think, to make it to our, Is it to make it to our shortcut? I'm trying to remember. Sorry, it's been a very long time since I sat down with this game. I know that ain't the way, though we will need to be heading there later. It is a bit further on the bridge, I believe. Yeah, nothing over here. Right, so big old scary werewolf time. Best way of dealing with him, if you can, is of course parry. Which I'm much better at in this game than I was in Dark Souls, let me tell you. Parry or... Ow! God, the range on that. Parry or fire, I was going to say. Fireworks as well. Oh, damn it, damn it! So close. MC asks, are there theories that bind Dark Souls and Bloodborne? Not any prominent ones that I'm aware of. This is typically considered to be its own universe, influenced very heavily by, like, prominent Victorian horror authors. As I said, we're a standard Gothic horror for now. We were so close to a shortcut, too. Good news, though. We can just kind of plow through a lot of this. Because we fast now. And because they're not all there, they don't chase us all that far. Yay! Might as well get a few more blood echoes while we're here, though. Oh no, I accidentally hit him twice. Hit him once more after already parrying him. There we go. Goodbye. They usually drop blood vials, I believe. There we are. Ow! There we go. You can, in fact, just shoot dogs right out of the air. There we are. Alright. Back to business. This is probably the best opening gambit we got. Oh, that opened him up. And that should finish him. Right. Now, one-on-one, a lichen is still dangerous, just nowhere near as dangerous. Oh, and that's the one with my blood. There we go. As you can see, it's kind of assumed in the design with everything from, like, their attack patterns to their health, that big enemies like that will be dispatched using, at least in part, using parries or things like that. They want you to parry using the gun way more than you would using, say, a shield in Dark Souls, by default. This is how we unlock our shortcut, I believe. More cold blood, and a guy with a cutlass. I think we'll also meet one of my favorite enemy types in here. Yep, yes we will. So see that old man in the wheelchair? He actually has a shotgun that he's going to turn on us just as soon as we get in his vicinity. See? He's holding a blunderbuss in his right hand. You can find, like, wheelchair hunters like this throughout the world, some of whom carry flamethrowers or Gatling guns. It's incredible. Right, but now, sorry, old man. Good source of bullets. We got pungent blood cocktails. When the hunt began, the healing church left us, blocking the great bridge to the cathedral ward, as old Yarnum burned to the ground that moonlight night. MC says, oh my. Yeah, no, these guys are great. They're actually some of the most powerful ranged enemies you can meet early on in the game. But through here, we should get... not a shortcut yet. MC says that put back sad memories from Metro Exodus. Oh, they're also, like, flamethrower-wielding old men in that game? You can also typically land one or two more hits on a deceased enemy as their ragdoll kicks in to rally back a small additional bit of health. This is our shortcut. See? Nice and easy. Right back to the lamp. Which will give us a shortcut to the boss if we need it, and given how rusty I am, we may need it. Now down here, we can see several of the ogres pacing around. Or two of them, I should say. Oof. Jesus. There it is. MC says, no, but there's a sad story in it that I forgot about. You meet the person, hear their story, and move on, or kill them. I assume in Metro, kill them is almost always an option when you're dealing with NPCs, based on what I've gathered about the series. This is how we know it's a Dark Souls-esque game, though. Our old pal, the elevator's back. And better than ever. MC says, I listened to the whole story, and it was sad. There's a similar, like, kind of side quest, I guess, in the first Mega Man Zero game, since we've been talking about that series so much lately. You have to listen to this tragic tale, or you have the option to listen to this very lengthy and tragic tale an old man has to share regarding his life. And if you make it through the entire thing, he rewards you for your patience and generosity by giving you one of the better, like, pieces of equipment in the game. And you can do it very early on, I want to say. Right, so with our shortcut opened, time to carry on along the bridge to our first boss. Again, notice all the weird statues lining the bridge. This obviously isn't normal, right? So there's an ogre, and there's a bunch of crows. ogre's way more of a threat than the crows are. As he says, here you receive no reward. Ah, well, that's fine. Sometimes in a well-constructed role-playing game, I find good deeds are perfectly sufficient rewards all to themselves. MC says Metro has a lot of deep stories to tell if you take the time to stop and listen. Oh, that's great. I love it when content like that is integrated into RPGs. Right. So, are we all ready for the first boss? When we were climbing up that ladder to the first lamp, do you remember that really bizarre sounding, like, cry we heard? Like, sort of a scream? Well, prepare to meet the creature that produced that sound, and also an exemplar of FromSoft's design philosophy. Remember, we've talked before in this series about how bosses in these games are designed to assault the player psychologically as much as they are assault the player's avatar physically. The idea being they're constantly trying to psych you out. And in that regard, the first boss of Bloodborne, mechanically, I may die here because we're so fragile, but mechanically is very, very simple, and not too terribly difficult, but is designed to psych you out more than anything else. How? Well, it's a gigantic beast that never shuts up. It's screaming almost constantly when we're in range. Listen to those beautiful sounds. Now we can parry even the bosses, but I'm not good at it, so I'm not going to try. Something we can do, though, is actually, like, severely wound them. If we damage, like, certain parts of a lot of bosses' bodies enough, or rapidly, or enough times in short succession, we can, like, create massive gaping wounds, say, in this thing's legs, that will not only slow it down, but deal immense amounts of damage the moment they're created. Notice it's called the Cleric Beast. That is largely because this thing used to be one of the clergymen of the Healing Church. The church has definitely seen better days. Look at that arm. It looks kind of reminiscent of Manus, doesn't it? From the first Dark Souls. Ow. Oh, this thing is so much fun to have in your headphones, you guys. You got no idea. No, 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 no! Hey, we parried it, though. Very good. Now check out this damage. Yeah! And notice it's just, we're both just getting soaked in blood. God, this noise. That's the real boss here, the sound effects. Now, as long as you stay to its rear, it can't do too much? And notice that that little counter under the Blood Echoes icon with the open eye has increased to 1. I believe every time you enter a boss arena, that counter will increase by default, or the first time you meet a boss. Nope, nope, nope. Come on. I want to finish you in style. Come on, just play along. Ow. Or don't, you know, however you feel comfortable doing this. And there we go. Cleric beast down. Prey slaughtered. And it starts raining blood, because, of course, and we get the Sword Hunter's badge. Boss fights in Bloodborne, compared to Dark Souls, tend to be extremely frantic and laden with use of items, blood vials, and bullets, and special items later on alike. It's just an all-out slugfest. MC says, hold on, for example, at a point in Metro, Exodus, I suppose, you find yourself in the metro station near the Bolshoi, and the artist that survived in the metro recreated a show. But before the show, which you can watch fully, that's very cool, you can meet a critic who basically tells you that there's no quality to the show and ramble about art and quality. You can pay him 2 bullets just to listen to his entire rant, and, like, good quality ammo is the currency of the game. So there's, like, lots of neat little, purely optional world interactions like that. I dig that. That's cool. And Kyle says, not too hard in Dark Souls is still Dark Souls. Well, especially given how terribly rusty I am at Bloodborne, Cleric Beast, yeah, you're right, it's challenging, way more challenging than a lot of games' first bosses, but it's not that bad. Oh, but, since we have that little special currency indicated by the open eye, which I'll tell you right now is called Insight, the doll is now alive. We also got 3 Insight for killing the beast. Oh, MC said that example is from Metro Last Light. Sorry. Oh, no problem. They're sound like pretty high-quality, immersive games, though. I like that. So, the more insight you get, the more you're able to perceive what exactly is happening in Yharnam. You can consume or expend insight to do things like summon in co-op partners or pay the messengers who will appear in the stump later on for special gear, but you always want at least some insight, because while it does make certain aspects of the game harder, it also enables us to understand the truth here. And it does cool things like bring our doll to life.
Hello, good hunter. I am a doll, here in this dream to look after you. Honorable hunter, pursue the echoes of blood, and I will channel them into your strength. You will hunt beasts, and I will be here for you, to embolden your sickly spirit.
Right, so we can communicate with her to level ourselves up. MC says, I know the secrets of the doll. Yeah, because you've watched speedruns and the like before. There's a lot of cool stuff associated with the doll, and she is actually our closest ally here. And I will tell you right now, she's the only person we meet in the entire game the only person who is terribly plot relevant, who has nothing but our best interest at heart.
Did you speak with Gehrman? He was a hunter long, long ago, but now serves only to advise them.
Hey, notice what look like arch trees in the background of this landscape.
In the dreaming world.
Like thin, massive arch trees.
Here,
that's interesting, huh?
Such is his purpose. Ah, the little ones. Inhabitants
talking about the
of
messengers, of course.
They find hunters like yourself, worship and serve them. Speak words they do not. But still, aren't they sweet? Ah,
right.
Farewell, good hunter.
So we'll talk with her
your worth in the waking world.
Shortly. We got our beckoning bell and the silencing blank, which will allow us to summon co-op partners and banish them respectively. Or no. I think it's the old hunter bell that allows us to summon, or they both allow you to summon co-op partners, something like that. They're the co-op items. That's all you need to know. Or all we need to know for now. Notice there was no pathway opened up to us by defeating the cleric beast, and that is because, dig this, the first boss of the game is entirely optional. You don't have to fight it whatsoever. And in fact, depending on your build, you don't even get much aside from the insight necessary to access the doll early on from doing so. But it did drop this Sword Hunter badge, and the badges are really, really special, and we want to collect all of them. There's tons of them in the game. Badge of the Swordsman Hunters under the Church's blessing. One of the badges crafted by the Healing Church. It's a beautiful looking pendant, isn't it? The silver sword is a symbol of a church hunter. Ludwig was the first of many Healing Church hunters to come, many of whom were clerics. As it was, clerics transformed into the most hideous beasts. Wonder why that is. Now, we can bring these badges over to the Bath Messengers, and every time we get a new badge, a new messenger will join the little marketplace here in the Bath, and they will sell new arms and armor to us. This is how we get most of our weapons and armor. They sell a special key here, the Hunter Chief emblem, a cloth emblem that used to belong to the captain of the church hunters long ago. Opens the main gate that leads to the round plaza of the Great Cathedral. The main gate is shut tight on nights of the hunt, and can only be opened from the other side with this emblem. In other words, the captain's return and this emblem determine the end of the hunt. We get the repeating pistol and the Kirk hammer from the from that badge. I'll go ahead and buy the Kirk hammer just to show it off, a trick weapon typically used by Healing Church hunters. On the one side, an easily handled silver sword, on the other, a giant obtuse stone weapon characterized by a blunt strike and extreme force of impact. The Church takes a heavy-handed, merciless stance toward the plague of beasts, an irony not lost upon the wielders of this most symbolic weapon. We'll also buy the Yharnam Hunter outfit, because not only is it better armor than what we have, it looks much cooler too. Hashtag fashion souls, as the kids say. Ludwig, the first hunter of the Healing Church, once recruited Yharnamites to serve as hunters. This hunter's attire was made for new recruits and has excellent straightforward defense, but not nearly enough to allow an ordinary man to stand any real chance against the beasts. In other words, you need a little something special to survive this hunt. Now check this out. This is the armor that was used in all of the promotional materials, and I think it looks really, really cool. See, this is what a decent protagonist in, say, Assassin's Creed 3 might have looked like if they weren't so insistent on the weird white hooded ensemble for the Order of Assassins. MC says if you ever want to check out the Metro series, you can get Metro Redo on PC or PS4. I may do and stream that maybe around the holidays when there's not going to be a whole lot going on or released. And the Kirk hammer, let me show that off real quick. It is not as much of a... Oh no, we don't have the strength for it. Never mind. We can't even equip it yet. Whoopsie.
Welcome home. What is it?
Let's go ahead and level up then.
Very well, let me.
So we get 4 level ups. 2 of them should go into skill. Maybe 1 in endurance, 1 in vitality. That sounds pretty solid.
Farewell, good hunter.
MC says the original Metro had some cool stuff that was removed for the redo, but you can't get it anymore. Really? Not even directly through the publisher's website or something like that? They just entirely replaced it with the I suppose, superior quote-unquote version? Now we can level up our weapon all of one time. Don't worry, we'll be using the cane for most of the game, so we'll get plenty of opportunities to improve it. Are the Bath Messengers here yet? No. Or the Stump Messengers, I'm sorry. Nothing left to do then than dive back into the hunt. From the new Great Bridge lamppost we can access thanks to the defeat of the Cleric Beast. So we got some cool new stuff, leveled up a few times, and that extra skill is going to actually make us way more powerful. MC says, yeah, they replaced everything with the redo. That's always a shame. I hate it when developers or publishers pull down old extant versions of games that have been circulating around, like, digital storefronts. Seems like that's what's going to happen or did happen with the Danganronpa series, which is a real shame, because I love those games. Part of the perils of digital-only ownership, I suppose. Don't we look so much more professional now? Ow! Ow! Wrong way, wrong way. MC says there's a chase scene against a tank that was removed because many players were confused. Oh, it didn't, like, communicate its expectations of the players that well? There's nothing telling you to shoot down bridge supports. Oh, I guess you could, like, crush the tank somehow? That's pretty cool. Give him credit, he tried. Cal says, like when No Man's Sky removed orbiting around the sun because beta testers were confused. Or that other time when No Man's Sky removed just about everything they said the game would launch with and gave us a very stripped-down, minimalist space exploration sim instead. I went into that game with tempered expectations, for the record, and was still terribly disappointed. Big kudos to Hello Games, though, at the very least, for trying to deliver a more robust experience in the aftermath of the launch. I still don't think it's a good game, but kudos to him for trying. MC says at least... Kyle says No Man's Sky was Sony's fault. Not so. Not exclusively. Not when you have the head of the development team making promises or claims regarding the game and its content at launch, what it would have, what it wouldn't have, what it would and wouldn't look like, that were patently false. The most we can blame Sony for is excessive and vague marketing, unbefitting like a indie title. But MC says at least nothing major for the redo was removed, and they released the game with their latest engine version at the time. That is very cool, then, that it was a distinct technical improvement at the very least, and I'm sure it runs much better than the original did, right? Let's get some more blood echoes. Why not? Got him. MC says, well, the original was darker, so better for some. Like, you could see a bit more clearly, I take it? Or at least some people could. So these coins are just used, I guess, as, like, markers, kind of like the shining stones from Dark Souls. If you want to leave a trail for yourself, or assess how deep a pit is, coins are your best friend. Here's dogs in cages, meaning blood echoes. Oh! Here's a dog outside of a cage, meaning pain. We'll be back here later on, no worries. Oh, here's that path we could drop down to from... Cal says, whip the beasts again. So the whip is very, very effective against more agile targets because it just has greater coverage. MC says, you can see a little more clearly now, which helps, but at the cost of a little immersion. Nothing you'd know if you didn't play the original. And No Man's Sky had sort of a Peter Molyneux case. Yes, absolutely. Like, just ridiculous over-promising instead of setting very clear, reasonable expectations early on as to, hey, you might enjoy this game if you're into A, B, and C. And then letting people kind of make their own decisions based off of that. And Kyle says, if No Man's Sky was maybe $30-ish as an indie game, people wouldn't be that mad, but Sony made it $60 with the collector's edition, so people expected a lot more. Pricing played a part, yes. I will agree, definitely. But I still think, at least what got me more than anything else, was hearing the person in charge of the project say, hey, we're going to have, in some form, this thing and that thing and the other thing, and having absolutely none of those be true. Or having the final product look nothing like trailer footage. Which is something you're used to when it comes to AAA games, but not really for indies. It was just a good lesson in consumer awareness, though, I think, overall, for all of us. So, I think now I might actually want to go back to that sewer we could explore a bit earlier on, right? Because there's a certain order you want to explore aspects of the game, or aspects of Central Yharnam in, especially before you get to the next, boss. We can really easily cast those shields aside with rapid attacks. MC says the issue of No Man's Sky is that it feels unpolished in many regards. Amen to that. They want to put everything together instead of crafting a pleasant experience. The game is functional but obnoxious. Yeah, it's functional, and at least compared to what folks were promised by the dev team, it's really unremarkable. Like, it is perfectly fine. It is mediocre. And that's maybe worse than being really, like, infamously bad. Akal says, the beast is killing our best men with a cane. Hey, it is I am a dapper, gentlemanly beast. Thank you very much. And Kyle also says, by the time they thought of tempering expectations, Sony already gave them money, so they couldn't be like, expect a 5 out of 10 game. Well, they could have on the front end, but they didn't. And I think they just had no earthly idea what they were doing. Oh, we've got to get past these guys to get to the sewer, right? That'll do it. MC says this is also a problem of misusing procedural generation. As it happens, so was Mass Effect Andromeda. Like, there was a very, very bad trend of devs opting for procedural generation in ways that it wasn't really A, suited for, or B, necessarily preferable or in circumstances where it would not be preferable to conventional design. And it came back to bite a whole lot of projects in the ass. Like Andromeda's weird attempt to integrate it into a story-driven BioWare game, which is just mind-boggling to me, is ultimately what led them to only being able to include a handful of planets, and having those planets be comparatively Spartan and homogeneous. Thanks, procedural generation. Attacking these guys from the back, or this little formation of enemies, makes things much easier. And we are already drenched in blood, as is the Bloodborne way. Oh right, there was another one. Totally forgot about you. Alright, sewer. Oh wait, it was on the other side of the bridge. Right. MC says procedural generation should be used to create descendants of a manually crafted design, or as a base to alter manually after, like Elder Scrolls does the latter. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, if you just need to create an environment, I will always hold that the best way to design any game is, like, from scratch, hands-on, and very, very attentive fashion. But if you just need an environment to work off of, and, like, want to tweak it after the fact, procedural generation sounds like it could be an excellent tool to use. But that having it do all or most of the work is a bad, bad idea. Speaking of bad ideas, it's time for old Brady to try and fight some of the advanced hunters. If that one hadn't fallen down to the next level, anyway. You can see there's a bunch of rats down there. Because this is a plague-based game, the rats are just as present, if not more so, than they were in Dark Souls. So these guys are strong. Like, compared to the regular hunters, they're very, very strong. But we can also stun-lock them pretty easily. MC says, let me enlighten you where procedural generation is used a lot. Look at the water and you'll see it. Oh, like reflections or water effects? Reflections, I'd imagine, right? There's also a variant here with like a makeshift spear. Water effects. I had no idea procedural generation was involved there, but that is so cool. And kind of makes sense now that I think about it. Ow, 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 ow. Yeah, gave us some more bloodstone. Yeah, reflection's one of them. Nice. And again, PlayStation 4, or I should say current-gen consoles, can boast some really impressive water effects. So good on you, procedural generation. Oh, that's some thick cold blood. And that's a dead rat. These rats, compared to Dark Souls, are kind of cute. Like, I love their big, bulging eyes. That one dropped a throwing knife. A couple of them dropped throwing knives for some reason. Well, thanks. Oh, it feels awful to turn on our former comrades like this, though, doesn't it? We were on the same side before, man. You sure you don't want me to just, like, pull some other players down into the sewer like old times? No? Alright. You're lost. Your dodge also has considerably more iframes in this game than it did in either Dark Souls. Kel says, they're kinda cute as you slaughter them. Well, I mean, I felt the same way about those horrible bone wheel skeleton rabbits in the Dark Souls 2 DLC. God, those things were the worst, but they were so cute. Oh! Welcome to the advanced sewer. MC says, you know, cows are kind of cute. Tomorrow's steak and fries day. Man, that sounds so good to me right now. Oh, hey, check it out. We got, the Hunter's armor set. One of the standard articles of hunter attire fashioned at the workshop, accompanied with a short cape to wipe away blood. A fine piece of hunter attire that provides stable defense to anyone facing Yharnam's beastly threat. Allows one to stalk beasts unannounced by cover of night. Now this stuff looks cool. Most of the armor in this game looks really cool, but check this out. Recognizable by its withered feathers, this cap is fashioned after one of the old hunters. Yeah, baby. We now look like a particularly fancy thug from Hand of Fate 2. Those weird corpses down there are unique enemies that are found only in a couple places in this game. They're not that bad. Believe me. Is that all we can do in this level of the sewers? Looks like it might be. Alright. We will head on up for now. Oh, he's back, somehow. Good old stun locking. Our best friend. Worst comes to worst, we've got plenty of blood vials now. Is there another ladder over here? No. No, just the one back this way. Now that I think about it, it's been ages since I've had a really good steak. Next time I order takeout, I might get like a really good beef dish. Or like my hometown's best, like Americanized Chinese takeout, that my folks usually bring me stuff from whenever they run by for supplies, makes a mean citrus duck. I might get some of that. Oh, now y'all making me hungry. So do we have everything not related to, like, the next boss now? I think we do. We definitely want to make our way over to the apartment that was, or the apartment from which we could hear the music box playing. But it'll be some time before we can get over there, I think. We got plenty of blood echoes, so we should be able to level up many, many times next trip to the Hunter's Dream. Oh, jeez. So we saved the person living in this home. They'll be grateful, right?
Then, well, do you know of any safe places?
I'm afraid we don't yet. MC says one of my favorite dishes is duck fillet and gratin dauphinois. Or sorry, dauphinois. So that's like a fried breaded duck with, what exactly is gratin dauphinois? It's something to do with cheese, right? Like, because a dish we call scalloped potatoes is, in French, I believe, called potatoes au gratin. Now it's time to access the other half of the sewer complex. Lots of sewage-based fun for everyone in today's stream. Oh, nice. MC says French dish of sliced potatoes baked in milk or cream from the Dauphin region in southeastern France. Or Dauphiné? I'm assuming I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, but I'm going with the pronunciation used for, like, an old noble title. There we go. Right up his ass. The small child in me finds that move incredibly amusing, regardless of the context. Oh! He reloaded right on time. The second pronunciation is the correct one. I gotcha. More of those rats down there. The rats are not much of a threat, I'm finding. Notice that everything in Yharnam, like even these kegs, is wrapped in like chains and locks. If it's not been made clear from like our limited interactions with the populace, even like the hunt notwithstanding, Yharnamites are paranoid to the point of absolute lunacy. They're afraid of almost everyone and everything. Come on. Come on, big fella. This is what happens if you get sick in Yharnam. Thanks, Healing Church. And it's implied that somehow they still see us as the beasts. MC says only issues with the current heat. Cooking is a nightmare. Oh, tell me about it. I quite enjoy baking, like little cookies and pies and things. I made a pretty solid, I think I told you, for one of my friend's birthdays, made a pair of really solid, like, fudge pies. That it was my first time baking anything quite like that. They turned out fairly well, I think. But, like, it was just boiling in here due to the heat from the oven. And looks like one of the rats overshot so badly he leapt straight down into the sewage canal. Is there some way back up from here? No, there isn't. We can take him, though. I do want to find out if there's any loot on the other side of the canal, but that'll probably have to wait for later. Throwing knife and a madman's knowledge. This is a unique, or a special item, and one that I'm quite fond of. Skull of an enlightened madman, used to gain insight. Skull of a madman touched by the wisdom of the great ones. Making contact with eldritch wisdom is a blessing, for even if it drives one mad, it allows one to serve a grander purpose for posterity. Oh, guys, right just before the game hits its true midpoint, there is a serious tonal and genre shift that particular item description really extensively foreshadows, and hot damn does this game's world become one of my favorites of all time. So there's folks with guns somewhere up above us. If we climb this ladder, we should get access to... Well, what on earth do we get access to? I'm afraid I totally forget. Oh, plenty of crows on the edges of the canal. Oh, this may be how we access the apartment with the music box. Maybe, possibly. Oh, I love the crows. More madman's knowledge. Given the state of Yharnam, I'm surprised there aren't a lot more of those. I can hear the music box. We're close. Here we go. Remember to wash your hands regularly. MC says it's always fascinated me to see madness depicted as a malignant being or deity. Well, I could tell you in the case of Bloodborne, that's not entirely the case. Like, these people are completely off their rocker entirely due to their own actions. Yeah, like, nothing is influencing them to be this way. They're just crazy. We will be introduced to some nuance in that, like, depiction a bit later on, but first things first, shortcut! And also, Plot development.
Are you? I don't know your voice. I know that now. Are you a hunter? In case we look for my mum. Daddy never came back from the hunt, and she went to find him. But now she's gone too. I'm all alone. I'm scared.
Yeah, it's a poor little child. Yeah,
Really?
we'll help her find her mom if we can.
My mum wears a red jeweled brooch. It's so big and beautiful. You won't miss it. Oh, I mustn't forget. If you find my mum, give her this music box.
Good, we got the music box.
Daddy's favourite songs. And when Daddy forgets us, we play it for him so he remembers. Mum's so silly running off without it. My mum wears...
So it's clear that nobody in this town, nobody that we've met, aside from the people in the Hunter's Dream, are perfectly well. Like, the father off at the hunt forgets, like, the faces and names of his own family at times, and the mother's just wandered off looking for him, leaving the child alone at home. And this, we're gonna need this, unfortunately. A small music box received from a young Yarnum girl plays a song shared by her mother and father. Inside the lid is a small scrap of paper, perhaps an old message. 2 names can be made out, however faintly. Viola and Gascoigne. We're going to equip this. It just lets us play the little music box tune. Right, back on down we go. MC says, poor Gascoigne. Yeah, MC knows where this is going. If you don't... Oh, boy. Bloodborne, I would say, does a much better job of getting you emotionally invested in its characters and its world than the Dark Souls series does, by design. I'm not saying that that is a deficiency in Dark Souls design, it's just something different that this game does. Now, hey, remember this? Yeah, there's that section of the sewer we explored earlier. Here's all of these, like, sort of half-assembled corpses. They can attack us. Not very well, but they can. And we're going to want to slowly thrash them all back into an inert state so we can gather up whatever they were guarding. Something good, I hope. Oh, we got a blood vial from that one. Nice. Ow. Damn, that dealt a lot of damage. Most things in Bloodborne do, as you'll see, but fortunately, that includes us. Ah, a bunch of bullets. Oh, one was still left. My bad. Dig the little, like, fisherman's hat he's wearing, though. There are, a few of these, along with some very precariously perched crows. Damn! That damage, I never get used to it. Blood vial? Yeah. Here they come. Pebble? They usually drop pebbles, yeah. They might drop blood vials or something once in a blue moon, but I'm not entirely sure about that. Oh, here's another one. It's strange to see that the people of Yarnum, in most cases, actually appear to be in just as bad, if not worse shape than most of the hollows we saw in Dark Souls. And here's a poor guy that's gotten himself stuck on the geometry. Not like I'm complaining. More crows. They can use their wings to gently hover, not really fly as much, but... well, they do their best. Now here, what have we here? a great big pig at the end of a great big tunnel. That should bring back memories, eh? We'll get back to Big Pig in just a minute, don't you worry. First things first, we want to climb this ladder, and check it out. We are almost to the Cathedral Ward, the stronghold of the Healing Church. And we are to a shortcut. This is the lift that we could see but not directly access from that little courtyard that the two ogres were in. See? MC says, just like Dark Souls. Exactly, really. The pig is positioned almost exactly like the, or no, getting to the church first. That's right! Good eye. Except here, we're going to be doing something a little different. The church is an entire area. It's actually several areas, all smushed together. As you can see, this cathedral, this church, is about the size of the rest of the city combined. At least in modern Yarn... Oh no! Flaming Boulder. Flaming Boulder is bad. Dun da da da! Now, I think that actually will respawn every time you get back here. Good on us, the ogre ended up taking out more of his friends than... or taking his friends out more easily than he did us. In modern Yarnum, the Healing Church more or less runs the show. It's not the only institution of its kind, but it is the only official one, and the only one that holds a great deal of political power. And rest assured, despite the way, the really dark and kind of grim way a lot of things are characterized in this game, the Healing Church is legitimately trying to help people. And always has been. Now if we slide down here, we can actually get behind Big Pig and perform my favorite move in the game once more. Here we go. Yeah! And now we can just finish it off very easily. We got some blood vials, and here is a corpse containing the Saw Hunter badge. Badge of a workshop-sanctioned hunter. Look at this thing. It looks a lot rougher than the official, like, Healing Church version, but it's got, like, these runes carved into the blade. Badge crafted long ago at the workshop. Attest to one's prowess as a hunter of beasts. The workshop is gone, and no group recognizes this meaningless badge except the messengers in the bath, who understand its profundity. Certain things can only be entrusted with a hunter in possession of this badge, or so they believe. This allows us to buy the weapons that we did not select at the start of the game. And here, we have some cold blood on what appears to be like a postal worker. This clears out this entire section of the sewer for us to explore, but I'm sure you're asking, Brady, why on earth would we want to do that? Well, you're about to see. And it's not exactly anything good. That's a bottomless pit, don't want to go down there. Good thing I remembered at the last minute. But back here, you see... Or I thought it was around here? No, there's something else around here, I swear. No? Not this time? Did we not get it? Guess not. Not yet, anyway. Well, we'll want to come back here later on, trust me on that. We are just a stone's throw from our next boss. And what a boss it is. More so than the Cleric Beast, it does a great job of tutorializing informally tutorializing parries and other special moves that Bloodborne encourages far more than did Dark Souls. Ooh! Shit. Yeah, these guys ain't no joke. Fortunately, these, like, kind of decrepit hunters don't show up all that often. This is one of the only areas in the game where we should expect to see lots of them. Bold hunter's marks work kind of like homeward bones in the first game. Oh boy, it's time already, isn't it? Alright, let's do this. I may well die here. So, y'all ready to see how Bloodborne does dual bosses? Oh, something really cool about Bloodborne I forgot to mention that Dark Souls 3 also takes on board. Almost every boss in this game has multiple phases where it'll change up its attacks, its physical form, the way you're intended to fight it, and I think that adds a really cool level of complexity to most everything in the game. This guy, for instance, has 3 phases. He fights with a hunter's axe and a blunderbuss. Look at his incisors. MC says, or 2 phases if you go fast. That's fair enough. This, oh, that poor kid. This is Father Gascoigne. He's gone completely mad and is an expert with that hunter's axe. Ow. He is an expert at following up on standard maneuvers with attacks from his blunderbuss. Ah, we got him, no. All you want to do is parry him a few times, much like Lord Gwyn. And you can use the music box, if we could open it in time, like that, to stun him. But you can only use it twice, like that. Do not abuse the music box. Please, God, don't abuse the music box.
What's that smell? The sweet blood. Oh, it sings to me.
So you really want to use these headstones to keep some distance between yourself and the good father. He's about to go into phase 2, where he will extend the hunter's axe into its 2-handed form. He can still use his blunderbuss like that somehow, though, even though you couldn't if you had that weapon. Oh! 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 Shit, 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 shit! He got me! Damn it, damn it! I've not died at that fight in ages, but then again, I've not played the game in years, so... The idea is, if you just parry him a few times, much like Lord Gwyn, he goes down really quickly. And in his 3rd phase, he deals way more damage than in the other 2, but the trade-off is he's much easier to parry. Like, much easier. So once again, time to run. And run, and run. Give me one more shot and I can probably take him. Oh, I really dig sort of the golden embossed highlights on these leather gauntlets. Check that out. I don't think I've ever noticed those on this armor set before. Very nice. Now, there are not actually all that many duel-type boss fights in Bloodborne. I can't think of more than 3 or 4 off the top of my head. Here comes the giant wicker ball. We can get some more blood from those guys, which is very, very handy. Father Gascoigne has a reputation amongst the fan base as one of the best, and honestly, at least for first-time players, probably one of the hardest bosses in the game. And I would say that's fair enough. Oh, we're kind of low on Quicksilver bullets, though. That's not good. We can still manage, probably. Ow. Let's try that again. We've got Nightmare Fog instead of just the White Fog this time. And in boss fights, I believe if you die, yeah, you do drop, like, just your blood echoes. Oh, damn it. See, the thing is, Gascoigne fights the way the developers want you to. He's extremely aggressive and relentless, effectively. I should have been able to parry that. I would actually argue his first phase is far and away the hardest, because it's relatively difficult to parry his attacks with the one-handed axe, as opposed to those with the two-handed version. Oh geez, I'm so bad at this. I am out of practice, you guys, and I'm sorry. There we go. Come here. That's better. Well, we got him, but he took me off my feet, so no dice. And again, no dice. Jesus! Christ! God damn it! I'm not that bad at this, normally. I'm really not. Oh, there's a very good weapon, the Blade of Mercy, but you've got to wait until pretty late into the game to get it, unless you're particularly talented and willing to bypass a quest line that you probably shouldn't. Well, we need more bullets. A lot more bullets. So sorry about this, but I'm probably gonna have to do some farming, because I suck at that fight now, apparently. Only real way to get blood vials reliably here is to fight the marksman. Or, sorry, Quicksilver bullets, I should have said. Oh wait, no, them and the old man in the wheelchair. That we missed entirely. Oh! Jesus. Fortunately, that whip gets us really good range, if nothing else. Should be able to get some bullets from these guys. Got him. Got him. The one up on the carriage still hasn't noticed us. There we go. That's better. And with this, we might actually be able to upgrade our weapon before we fight Father Gascoigne again, which is probably not the worst idea I've ever had. Now, as intense as he is, the next boss we'll be fighting after him is a complete and total cakewalk. So we do at the very least get to relax afterward. More cold blood, good, that might actually come in handy. Nope. Ain't about to lose all my echoes, no thank you. Big guy decided to play us a visit, or pay us a visit. Okay. So now we want to use the central Yarnum lamp to head back to the Hunter's Dream. No! No! I can't believe I lost all those echoes. Oh my god, no, why? Again, I'm really sorry, guys. I am not used to playing this badly. Especially not this game. This one, like Dark Souls 2, I know like the back of my hand. We'll get all those levels back somehow. Oh, good. That is one of the problems with Bloodborne, is you are so frail early on. Like we mentioned earlier, like ridiculously so. Later in the game, you've got so many Quicksilver bullets and blood vials in the tank back at the Hunter's Dream, you don't really ever have to worry about farming them or anything like that, or needing to. That is not the case early on. Not in the least. Getting caught on the invisible boss door, that's perfectly good. Oh, drop some upgrade materials. Okay, so that might actually not be the worst idea. I'm trying to figure out why I've been playing so poorly today, though. Like, is there some aspect of the game I'm totally forgetting about, but I think I'm just really, really rusty. Here we go. You've got plenty of Quicksilver bullets for us. There we go. MC says Katura's blunderbuss from Hand of Fate 2 is a lot of fun. Yes, it was. I didn't get to use it all that much in my playthrough, but really reliable ally ability, I think. There we go. Trying to find out which one of these guys stole our echoes, though. And see, it says you can get a blunderbuss supply for yourself, too, from the DLC. Like, as an artifact? That sounds pretty cool. Oh, it's him? One of the guys with the cleavers was awarded the credit for the kill, although I'm pretty sure we were shot to death. Okay. And yeah, it's an artifact. Nice. Alright, well, it may not have been helpful, but cutting through all those guys again certainly made me feel a little bit better. Now we want to head back to the lamp and peace out, so we can, upgrade our weapon and ourselves. Almost there. There we go. Now, once we kill Father Gascoigne, we can actually get his armor set, which, in addition to looking really cool, I want to say has, for Bloodborne at least, pretty solid resistance. So we may do that. Problem is, I think it costs insight. I'm fairly certain it does. Speaking of, these guys now sell us the other hunter weapons, if we're so inclined. We are not. Now we've got a +2 cane. And the doll should be some... Oh, there she is.
Welcome home, good hunter. What is it? Very well. Let me stand.
Just 2 level ups. We'll take them. Maybe, Blood tinge, no. 1 in skill, 1 in vitality, maybe? Yeah, why not?
Farewell, good hunter. May you...
MC says Hand of Fate 2 is a bit weird with its DLC. The rewards are more tailored for Endless, and I use them extensively, but they don't strike me as being DLC-specific features, making me undervalue the DLC's purchase. Well, I know that the first Hand of Fate had a whole lot of quote-unquote free LC, and it sounds like, and based on my experiences this would be true, a lot of the stuff that was added as paid DLC for Hand of Fate 2 probably should have been released on a free model, or included in a more robust content package, right? Let's try this again, now that we've got some more, a slightly better weapon and some more bullets. And he says I disagree. I'm thinking specifically about, like, Oh no, it does have... That's right, it does have free DLCs. They're just mostly cosmetic stuff. Cosmetic stuff and tokens, I want to say. Cosmetic stuff, tokens, and Valenos. Does that sound right? Oh, damn, he actually got a shot off that time, because of course he did. Oh, complete combat revamp? I did not know that was, like, added as DLC at any point. We're almost to the Cathedral Ward, but we are not going to be taking on the Cathedral Ward's boss straight away. Oh god, no. Instead, we are going to take a path from the Cathedral Ward that will allow us to leave Yharnam and work our way towards a boss that grants us a very special upgrade ability. As well as happening to be one of the easiest bosses in the entire series, though a really cool one. But to do all that, we've got to get past the Good Father, so... bear with me, folks. That's what you get for using a shield in Bloodborne, scrub! MC says, but even then the paid DLCs present an added slew of cards and options that actually don't make you feel like you've been ripped off. Generally speaking, that's definitely true. For the two major, like, content packs, I'd say that's absolutely true. The Iron Peak one, I personally think is worth the money, but I could see some people thinking it's a little content sparse. Well, we may be hard up for bullets right now, but we are going to be good to go on blood vials. Alright, Papa G, let's try this again. Ooh. There we go. Phase 2? Not yet. There we are. Okay, so he's about to go into Phase 3, which is, different. See, Father Gascoigne's sick, and you stress him out enough, he gives in and becomes a beast. A very aggressive beast. Now like this, he can be pretty easy to parry, but also deals damage like you wouldn't believe. No. This is why he kept forgetting his family's faces. He's not been all there for a very long time. timing for parries here is a little tighter, I want to say. But you pull just a couple of them off and he's gone. His beast form has way weaker defenses than his human form, I want to say. And we get the Erden Tomb Key. Yes, believe it or not, that is how that's pronounced. From his corpse. Poor guy. And, well, now we've got some less than happy news to deliver to his daughter. But first, let's see what we've got here. Key to the gate that blocks the Tomb of Erden. Beyond the tomb, Erden Chapel can be found in the center of the cathedral ward. Only today the church is abandoned, and some say that the residents of Erden have all gone mad. MC says, yeah, a cold hearth feels smaller but adds a lot of utility to the game. Katura's story is nice but nothing impressive, and adding the poisoners to the thief deck is amazing. Also, the Shatter Armor Bomb that works on corrupted spires. Yeah, no, so like a nice little utility upgrade, I guess it would be... I can see more people passing on that than either of the other two DLC, I'll put it that way. But I still think it's a nice bit of fun from what I saw of it. So with Father Gascoigne down, guys, we actually, have a fairly easy road ahead of us for a little while, comparatively speaking. As easy as it gets in Bloodborne. We're going to want to level up once again.
Very well. Let me...
2 more levels. Put them both into skill, why not? MC says, I love me some Lone Shark Grey Morality card. I don't know if we ever ran into the Lone Shark, actually.
In the waking world.
Oh, something else cool about this game. You can perform gestures to the doll, and she will react to them. Typically laughing or nodding her head or doing something else to indicate that she is definitely on our side. Now in this bird bath up here, this is where we trade in our insight. Not the stump, my bad. For a little over half our insight, we can get Gascoigne set, and I'm actually going to go for it. Because we will be getting plenty of insight, believe you me. First off, by using our Madman's Knowledge. MC says, nah, you need to complete Katura's storyline to get the Lone Shark. I gotcha. Hunter attire worn by Father Gascoigne. Similar to hunter garb created at the workshop, only these are tainted by a pungent, beastly stench that eats away at Gascoigne. Father is a title used for clerics in a foreign land, and there's no such rank in the Healing Church. The dingy scarf is a holy shawl and symbol of the Healing Church, from which Gascoigne would eventually part ways. Seriously, does this not look gorgeous on us? I love the way the stole flaps in the breeze. Like, fabric and cloth physics in Bloodborne, and Dark Souls 3 for that matter, are genuinely, like, eye-catching. Like, really well done, I think. We can now head to the Tomb of Erden. And from there, finally proceed on to the Cathedral Ward. MC says also there's the Warlock Wraps. Cast a spell that hits 100 damage to the first enemy it hits, and if that target's defeated, 3 additional spells will target nearby enemies. Oh, damn. That sounds really good, actually. Now, with the key to the Tomb of Erden in hand, we can move on, but first, let's pick something up over here. Oh. Oh, no. Well, looks like the little girl's mother found her husband, and he didn't recognize her. And, yeah. This is a tragic storyline, as are most of the quest lines in Dark Souls, or Bloodborne. A woman's bright red brooch, engraved with the name Viola. Perhaps the jewel is a gift from a hunter. Used to change into a droplet blood gem that fortifies any weapon. With the proper workshop tool, various weapons can be fortified. We'll be heading back to the kid to give her the bad news later on, but first we'll use the Erden Tomb key. MC says, also there's a free counterpart you get from Rana, the dead man's hand. Yeah, I remember that one. I think I either got it or had the opportunity to get it at some point. And this does in fact just throw us out in the undercroft of a tomb. If we climb our way up into the chapel, we will encounter, like the doll, probably one of our best friends. Right on the other side of this study. Whatever's in here. A blood gem workshop tool. This is what will allow us to, well, insert blood gems into our gear. Let's have a look. A misplaced workshop tool from the Hunter's Dream. It just looks like a vice to me. The hunter who retrieves this can fortify weapons by kneading blood gems into them. Blood gems add properties to weapons when used to fortify them, as blood defines an organism. Welcome, ladies and gents, to the gorgeous Cathedral Ward. And what will effectively become our base of operations in Yharnam for a while. Oh, ain't it cheery? And there's someone or something here.
Oh, you must be a hunter. Very sorry. The incense must have masked your scent. Good. I've been waiting for one of your ilk. These hunts have everyone all locked up inside, waiting for it to end. It always does. Always has, you know, since forever. But it won't end nicely. Not this time. Even some folks hiding inside are going bad. Screams of women folk, the stench of blood, the snarls of beasts. None of them's too uncommon now. Yharnam's done for, I tell ya. But if you spot anyone with their wits about them, tell them about this here Erden Chapel. They'll be safe here. The incense.
So we can revisit several of those doors we could interact with earlier in the game to send NPCs here. There are actually 2 locations you can send them in the game, and trust me, despite how maybe unsettling this person may seem at first, they're actually very well intentioned and will look after anyone we send here. You do not want to send them to the other location. So, our main humanoid enemies for this stretch of the game are these church wardens. Pallid-faced men with canes and lanterns. And believe me when I tell you, those canes hurt. A lot more than ours does. But fortunately, they drop bullets. Quite a few of them at times. Ooh. I really do like the Healing Church garments, or their vestments. They look very, very cool. Oh, we want to stay away from that. Just trust me on that one. Special set of armor. We want to stay far, far away from magical vortexes in space-time that open right in front of our eyes. There's a reason for that thing showing up where it did, but we won't get to find out what it is for some time. So the Cathedral Ward is in general a little bit more opulent and slightly better kept than the rest of Yharnam, as you'd expect. Let's see, out of our new armor, do we want to wear any of it? We've got slightly different looking hunter's garb. Just a version without the cape. As if anything without a cape is ever better. The rest of it all appears to be the same, save the top hat. Nah, I actually prefer Gascoigne's wide-brimmed hat. Much as I love a good top hat, this just fits a little better, doesn't it? So there's some kind of closed passage over here. There we go. The church's soldiers aren't that hard to take out, but they do travel in packs sometimes. MC says, oh, found something new. Hold on. I've got to close out up. There we go. Found something new, you did? Or we did. Oh, in the Servant and the Beast, you have witching blades. Are they anything like the nighttime KO? Weapon ability causes knockdown if the combat occurs at night. Which would be really great with the demon's support abilities, right? We're actually going to want to head down here first. There's a lot of different paths one can take in and around the... Oh, let's meet one of the Healing Church's guardians, the Giants. These things are experiments that were made to guard the Healing Church somehow. Notice that they're wearing church vestments for whatever reason. These things are clergy, technically. Just to give you an idea what kind of institution we're dealing with. And I want to remind you, the Healing Church are the good guys in this setting, comparatively speaking. Izzy says, great with Velas. Yeah, I'd imagine so. More upgrade materials. Nice. And then if we use this, can we, like, drop the portcullis? Yeah. I guess if you just wanted to block the giant or something. Is that one of the ogres, or...? Yes. Oh, damn, I'm trying to get, like, a good parry on him. But this one uses a different moveset, because it's fighting with a statue? There we go. MC says, Courier's another card in Hand of Fate 2 that doesn't feel like a DLC. It's in the Servant and the Beast, and I just always pick it. I don't know if we use that one or not. I honestly don't. It doesn't sound familiar. We got the Monocular. It's basically the binoculars from Dark Souls. Meaning we're never going to use it. But it's a nice little utility item for those inclined to get a better view of what lies ahead. You got it but didn't use it, okay. That sounds like me. I stuck to a very safe deck building strategy. Oh, yeah, some of the giants also have, like ball and chains, because of course they do. Why wouldn't they? They look emaciated, but almost like they've been embalmed. They're church guardian mummies. and they just explode when defeated. I think they're the first enemies we've seen that do that, aside from maybe the Lycans? No, I think even the Lycans stuck around as, like, ragdoll corpses. If we head in here, we'll find a tomb of some kind. Expect to see plenty of these all around. And he says, nah, you just stopped after completing the challenge with Velis. Yeah, I know, we did. We got a blood gemstone that we can again use that healing church tool or workshop tool with to great effect. They're basically little stat modifiers that you can slot into a weapon using that tool. Up to 3 per weapon, I believe. Or not, maybe not per weapon. Maybe you use them to, you slot them into your character up to 3 at a time. Something like that. And couriers given when completing that challenge. I see. There's that rift again. Mind the rift. Now over here we actually have a pathway down deeper into the ward itself. Or certain area of the ward. And this is one of a handful of places we can find regular, Yarnum hunters down here, or over here. I think their stats have been scaled up just a little bit for this area, but they're still not terribly intimidating on their own. Cold blood, Molotovs, I'll take them both. There's a guy with a rifle in there who will be backed up by dogs, I want to say. But in here, anything in here? Aside from a very conspicuous casket, no. Except more madman's knowledge. Excellent. We'll want that. We'll go ahead and use those now, actually, because there is never any penalty to insight accrued or incurred upon death. We want to get that insight up as quick as we can to see all the coolest stuff in the game. I don't think that's the only dog. Yeah, no, there's another one. This one's just a little slow on the trigger. Here we go. On his own, though, this guy's not much more than a free disbursement of bullets. And there's a door we can actually use here to go up to the second level of this tomb. Or chapel, or what have you. We can, of course, slide aside the really conspicuous casket, like so. Get another madman's knowledge, use another madman's knowledge. Believe it or not, the more insight we have, the more powerful and diverse of a moveset the church servants will have. But over here, we can find a friend. It's rare to see one of those in Bloodborne, let me tell you what.
You're a beast hunter, aren't you? I knew it. That's precisely how I started out. Oh, beg pardon. You may call me Alfred. Protégé of Master Ligarius, hunter of vile bloods. So, what say you? Our prey might differ, but we are hunters, the both of us. Why not cooperate and discuss the things we've learned?
For now, sure.
Oh, very good.
He's part of a sect of fairly dogmatic religious warriors, but he's going to help us for a little bit. Fire paper is like, charcoal pine resin in Dark Souls. It temporarily coats your weapon in flame. That's actually very useful, so grateful to him for it. And we got a gesture.
Hunting is a sacred practice. May the good blood guide your way. There must be oodles for us to share. Go on. Just tell me what piques your interest.
Good, so we can ask him about a couple different things. Best place to start would be the Healing Church.
The Healing Church is the fountainhead of blood healing. Well, I'm a simple hunter, quite unfamiliar with the ins and outs of the institution. But I have heard that the holy medium of blood healing is venerated in the main cathedral, and that counselors of the old church reside in the high stratum of the cathedral ward. If you seek blood healing, and the church is willing, you should pay them a visit.
So it's worth noting that despite belonging to an order that, at least on paper, works for the Healing Church, this guy has absolutely no idea what it is or really does, beyond very, very vague generalities. We can also talk to him about Bergenworth, which is a college located outside Yharnam.
Bergenworth is an old place of learning, and the Tomb of the Gods, carved out below Yharnam, should be familiar to every hunter. Well, once a group of young Bergenworth scholars discovered a holy medium deep within the tomb. This led to the founding of the Healing Church and the establishment of blood healing. In this sense, everything sacred in Yharnam can be traced back to Bergenworth. But today, the college lies deep within a tangled wood, abandoned and decrepit. And furthermore, the Healing Church has declared Bergenworth forbidden ground. It's unclear how many of its scholars remain alive, but only they know the password that allows passage through the gate.
Right, so Bergenworth is the institution that indirectly gave rise to the Healing Church. They developed a lot of their both theology and techniques before being abandoned.
I bid you farewell. It has been a pleasure. May the good blood guide your way.
Alright, folks, and with that, we're not going to cut the stream. I may actually go for an additional hour because I really want to get to that next boss. But give me a few minutes to go grab another drink and bring in a package that I got delivered. It's the start of the semester, or we're nearing the start of the semester, so there's going to be packages left, right, and center. We'll be right back. ladies and gents, apologies for the break. We are back, taking on probably one more boss. Thank you very much, MC. One more boss here in Bloodborne before we hang it up. We're going to leave our buddy for now, though later he will have a couple more things to give us as part of his quest line. He is not so lair, believe me there. Because notice he said something about the fact that his order hunts vile bloods, quote unquote, which I'll tell you right now are people. Vile bloods are, well, a special type of person, but they are fully cognizant and aware humans. They're not beasts at all. Where does this lead again? Oh, this leads to a bad place. Gave us some bloodstone, though, so all worth it, I suppose. Seriously, what on earth is even down here? I've totally forgotten. Antidotes, those are used for curing poison, which is actually still a status ailment here. Oh, I know where this is. Yeah, we ain't coming back here for a while. So you remember Old Yarnum, the district that it's been mentioned many times by now, was burned down in like an impassioned night of the hunt? It's right on the other side of that door. And, yeah, we ain't ready for Old Yarnum yet. Old Yarnum's where things can get really dicey, and also where one of the bosses I had the hardest time with my first time through the game is located. So we're not going there quite yet. We are at least one, maybe two bosses away from Old Yarnum readiness. So this whole area, for the time being, is just kind of a side area of the church. We really want to get closer to the main gates for now. Because right off of, like, the main promenade of the Grand Cathedral is the area we're actually gunning for. Was there another side path over here I neglected to visit last time around? Yeah, we went down the stairs, but did we go up? Ah, locked, right. We need to produce that emblem, right? Yeah, the emblem that costs like 10,000 blood echoes. Alternatively, I think we can fight our way around a bit like with the Crest of Artorias. I really dig these giant sensors hanging from walls and rooftops. You know, despite everything going on in Yarnum, the cathedral ward itself must smell absolutely heavenly with all the incense that's being burned. That incredibly powerful smell of incense has always been one of my favorite parts of Mass. MC says depends on the incense. That's fair enough. More church servants. Some of them have lanterns, some don't. Right now that does not matter, but it will later on. And those, I don't believe those are masks. Those are actually their faces. Again, implying there's something not quite human. Here we get a wooden shield, which is a very, very frail defensive measure that exists largely as a joke about the fact that, hey, there's no actual shields in this game. See, a crude wooden shield used by the masses who have arisen to join the hunt. Hunters do not normally employ shields, ineffectual against the strength of the beast as they tend to be. Shields are nice, but not if they engender passivity. Yeah, they're not exactly subtle about the way they want you to play this game, are they? Well, it looks like that might actually be all we can do until we get that mark. Or badge, I should say. Right? At least I don't think there's anything else we can do. MC says, yep, mocking shield users. Of course they would. Well, remember, this was led by the same guy who directed Dark Souls 1. In fact, I believe he was working on this during part of the time Dark Souls 2 was in production. I'm double checking because I want to make sure there's nothing I've missed. If there isn't, then I guess we can use the old Yarnum lamp to teleport back to the dream and use all of our cold blood to purchase the badge. You're back somehow? Well, you got blood echoes, so come on. Seems like these charging attacks lots of enemies have are very exploitable for parries. Oh, we got a beast blood pellet. That's an interesting consumable. Hold on. Giant medicinal pellet that grants short-lived beasthood. Supposedly formed of coagulated beast blood, banned by the Healing Church due to their unclear origin, grants a spurt of beasthood, ripping apart the flesh of one's enemies and being rained upon by their splattering blood invigorates one's sense of beasthood, feeding strength and euphoric feeling alike. So basically, it temporarily increases, or gives you a special buff that increases your attack, but also further increases your attack for every, like, successive attack you land on enemies in a short span of time, I think. Now, though, I'm afraid we really do need to get that mark from the Hunter's Dream so we can proceed on into the church proper. And we can equip those blood gems while we're at it. The ones we would get at this point in the game can't be terribly useful, but something's better than nothing, right? Isn't that like the Mighty Number 9 tagline? It's better than nothing? We should also be able to get some level ups from this, if only just a couple. Because we do have some of that thick cold blood. A thick droplet of cold blood containing blood echoes. A strong will produces thick blood. Doubtless the product of obsession, a potent source of human strength. Indeed, indeed. MC says you could apply that to an extreme. Pollution is better than nothing. I'm pretty sure there are politicians who have run on that exact platform in the US before.
Welcome home. What is it? Farewell, good
No, we
boy.
need to get the mark. Oh, and we can upgrade our weapon. We may not level up ourselves, but we can upgrade our weapon. Now we'll need twin bloodstone shards to upgrade it any further. We can use blood gem fortification now, though. This one has 2 slots for gems. Physical attack up 0.7%, that'll do for now. 0.7 with an additional upgrade, right? Or no, 1.1%. And like some kind of constant HP increase. Yeah, we'll take it. Again, better than nothing. Now we'll warp to the Cathedral Ward. and access that gate leading us into the ward proper, where we will see lots and lots of those church servants, including some with different weapons. Like, there are some that spray us with, like, I think, powdered quicksilver from a special bellows that increases our vulnerability to something or other. Some of them do have, like, handheld flamethrowers. Some are carrying around giant blood echo symbols that look very similar to crucifixes that they'll try to beat us to death with. It's a grand old time in the Cathedral Ward. But again, we won't be here too long the first time around. How much blood does this guy have? For someone that pallid, he's got a lot of blood. Even the crows give us a decent amount of blood echoes. That's nice to see. Ooh, damn. Ouch, 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 ouch. There we go. Thank you. Oh, wrong gate. Whoops. We wanted the gate past the weird dimensional rift that keeps trying to swallow us up. Being giant zombies, they sure do move quickly, don't they? I don't think we need to worry about the giant following us that closely. You just present the emblem, and we're good to go. Welcome to the Healing Church proper. There are more giant church mummies here, of course, but oh, the ones with the wide-brimmed hats are typically the ones with the flamethrowers. Ow. Flamethrowers and canes, but way less health. Somehow. They drop bullets because the flamethrower is technically a ranged weapon. And spoiler alert, we can get a flamethrower ourselves, and it consumes quicksilver for some reason. Missed. No. My parrying is clearly off. Parrying these guys is much harder than, say, average Yarnum hunters and the like. There we go. That's another way to do it. Just attack relentlessly. I think the church giants are so big you can't effectively parry them. They're one of a few enemies that can't be parried, bosses included. Let's kick its ass, if we can. There are two of them running around, remember? Thankfully, unlike most enemies in this game that we've seen so far, the giants are incredibly slow. There's some madman's knowledge in this partially excavated graveyard. Ew. as we can see, that charged heavy attack does stun them more often than not. And they give us plenty of blood vials and Madman's knowledge. Good, we want all of that. All of it. All of it. It makes the game harder, but also much cooler. And I will always take cool over convenient. Let's pop these suckers. One more, why not? Get us up to 12. There's actually a boss in the game, the next boss on our list, actually, the one I'm trying to head to now, that cannot harm you at all, effectively, aside from a very weak melee attack, if you have no insight whatsoever. That's our good buddies the crows again. Oh! And a brain sucker. These things will try to grab us and, well, drain our brains. They're incredibly resilient, and, well, as you can tell, they aren't beasts. They're very weak to fire, though, and they drop a bunch of bullets. Seriously, look at that thing. That used to be human. Good old Yarnum, everything's just fine, don't worry. And across the bridge, what do we have? We've got a casket with a special gemstone, antidotes, and oh no, I think this is not the place we want to head right now. Love all the statuary scattered throughout the area. Very, very striking. I think the path we want is over here, and we can actually maybe find someone we could direct to the chapel over here. Yeah, this takes us to the residential area. Poison throwing knives. Situationally useful, not something I rely on too heavily.
Oh my, what a clear sound. But I tend to take the stench of blood and beasts any day. What is it then? I'm off during hunt, so if that's what you're here for, I'll leave you to your own devices. If that doesn't do it, come back and I'm off during.
Do we have to knock a certain number of times? Because this is someone we can recruit. Maybe just not until later?
You're not from around here, are you? Well, an outsider who's come to join the hunt? What a pathetic idea. You what? What, you think I'm a beast? Well, maybe I think you're a beast. And step away from my carton.
Right.
What, you think this is? Well, I certainly don't. I'll have nothing to do with your beast sons.
Good to see the townsfolk are as friendly as ever. We actually may need to find the other place we can send people before we recruit them. I forget how exactly that works, or we have to unlock it at least. So folks love the Healing Church, even though it sounds like nobody has any idea what they really do. Alfred seems to be the only person we've met so far who has any real idea what's going on. And even he wasn't, you know, all there. Oh. Hello, Sickle Man. Oh, here we get actual Healing Church gear. The Black Church set and surgical gloves. A lot of the church's theology has to do with, like, medicine, specifically. The intricate embroidery weaves a spell that protects their wearer. The Church engages in the hunt in a medical capacity. When a cancer is discovered, one must pinpoint its location, reach in, and wrench it from the host's bosom. Most healing Church hunters are elementary doctors who understand the importance of early prevention of the scourge, achieved by disposing of victims and even potential victims before signs of sickness manifest themselves. Their black attire is synonymous with fear and that peculiar Yharnam madness. So the Church takes a salted earth approach to the hunt, obviously, and as we've seen, their own soldiers have a very shoot first, ask questions later mentality. Their set's decent enough, I guess, right? Like, looks fine, I just kind of prefer Gascoigne's. As it's like a fancier, I think, largely foreign version of the same set. Its defenses also seem to be generally better across the board.
Praise you. Praise the old damn church. And then the best of luck hunting. Best luck of all.
Right, so that guy's just getting drunk until the hunt ends, who I think that's probably the most reasonable response we've seen so far. Guy up there with a rifle, don't pay him any mind. Ooh. There was a third and a fourth and a fifth one. Oh my god. The hunters in particular are, ow, Jesus, really good at ambushing you. Other enemies we meet like later in the game that tend to be stronger, not quite as talented in that regard. I guess it's like a decent trade-off for their weaker power. Blood vial? Yeah, blood vial. Blood vials? Blood vials. We're doing much better in terms of consumables than we were when we met Father Gascoigne. And we're doing all this, I think, to work our way around to that grate we couldn't open past the courtyard. Climbing all the way up to the top of this tower, and what's up here other than a splendid view? Seriously, check this place out. Yharnam's an absolutely gorgeous city, wouldn't you agree? Like, just really, really solid visual design all throughout, and even though it's got a lot of the similar motifs... here we go. A watchman of Bergenworth guards the gate with a password, the sacred adage of the Grand Cathedral. Grand Cathedral being that building right up there-ish? Yeah, the one with the clock tower. I think they did a decent job of maintaining a lot of similar motifs across both Yharnam and the Cathedral Ward, while giving each area, each settlement, its own distinct personality. It's a tough ask, too, when you're working with a lot of, like, visually similar, if not identical, elements. MC says it has a lot of Roman to medieval steampunk motifs. Yeah, it's very like Victorian Gothic. MC says it looks very well built. It does. It looks completely nonsensically arranged, which is perfect for a city that has a persistent problem with insanity. But looks like a beautiful city. A nice place for a vacation, we'll put it that way. Some cold blood. What's over here? More church servants. What on earth is that glowing bell next to the messengers? MC says, I'm not into insane vacations. Well, hey, the burgeoning dark tourism industry would thrive off of places like Yharnam. Oh, here's another gate that we can open later, right? Oh no, right here. Good. This loops us back around to, like, the chapel, or the Erden Chapel lamp. See, once you open up all the shortcuts in Cathedral Ward, it becomes more or less a straight shot straight to the Grand Cathedral. We've got Numbing Mist here. Does that decrease the damage we take or something? No, throw to create a mist cloud that prevents HP restoration. Wow. Said to be used by the Blood Hunters of Canehurst. Its recipe is a secret closely guarded by the line of nobles inhabiting the castle. Canehurst is one of my favorite settings in the entire series, for the record. It'll be a while before we get there, though. What do you have for us? Oh, a little black hat we can give our messengers back in the Hunter's Dream. That is so cute. There are various hats you can find and give to them if you want to personalize your own messengers. Any messages you leave for other players, too, will be delivered by messengers wearing the hat you set for them. More cold blood. There's something on that balcony right over there. Gonna see if we can't access it from here. No? Looks like that'll be a no. We'll have to work our way around there, probably from over there. We're not that far from the Grand Cathedral right now as it stands. Oh, I can hear another one of the giants stomping around. Oh, here's church servants with scythes. Glowing scythes. Fun. And we got another big one. Stamina isn't really going to be a big problem for us for a little while, I don't think, especially considering how light of a weapon the cane is. If we were using something heavier, then stamina would be something you may have to concern yourself with, but not us, not yet. Nor are we going to have to concern ourselves with blood vials if I play halfway decently, that's a big if. Oh, one of them has a gun. Not sure I ever ran into one of those before. I'm used to the ones with the wide-brimmed hats wielding flamethrowers, or one other very specific ranged weapon that we've not seen yet. Here's the ones with the blood echo symbols that look a lot like crucifixes. And they're wearing black vestments for some reason. There are only 2 of these in the entire game. These are it for some weird reason. And they inflict frenzy status. Think bleed, but with madness. And here we are, the Grand Cathedral. Notice these very strange-looking statues on either side of the door. This doesn't look like a standard Gothic horror, now does it? No, these look like something else. Something else very, very popular and associated with, like, late 19th, early 20th century fiction. Something that happens to be one of my favorite subgenres of horror. We'll explore the cathedral later, but first things first, guys, we need to get to that new sub-area. The one with the actual boss I'm hunting right now. And don't worry, we can fight our way through this area, this beautiful area, very quickly, provided I still got it, you know? We got a bloodshot eyeball. It's a consumable item we'll need to enter a special area later on. Bold hunter's marks, and we're about to emerge in a wooded area, absolutely filled with hunting dogs and riflemen. We're actually leaving Yharnam, believe it or not, heading out into, like, the outskirts, where we can find a variety of interesting locations that are not just urban sprawl. A lot of this game actually takes place outside of Yharnam. Which is cool. I quite like that, that even though they're working with a more focused, like, world this time, they're still giving us plenty of environmental diversity in this game. We can see these hunting dogs have, like, metal armor / spikes sticking out of their faces, and that means they're actually much tougher customers than the regular dogs from Yharnam. They do drop bloodstone, though, pretty regularly, I want to say. Oh, but hot damn do they hurt. And there's scores of them all over this area. But this is also probably the worst part of this next level. All the dogs. Lots of areas for them to ambush you from as well. Now, in terms of AI, they behave, I believe, identically to the regular dogs. They just hit a lot harder and look a lot scarier. There we go. We have to work our way through this area very methodically. The first time, anyway. We can just run straight through once we get all the treasure. The dogs are the main threat here, but there's lots and lots of riflemen as well. Oh, check it out. Can we get 3 in 1? Yeah, baby. Oh no, almost. That one has a cutlass. Despite having the trademark hats of the musketeers. That may have been a special variant then. As you'll see as well, like as we carry on, the environments here beyond Yharnam are just as beautiful as the city itself, if not even more so, despite the kind of macabre decor. Well, we're finally gonna be good on bullets. We get something called bone marrow ash here, as well as a bunch of cold blood. What does bone marrow ash do again? Oh, it's also a special consumable. No, it's not. Yeah, additional medium that strengthens quicksilver bullets. According to the workshop, this is a special bone marrow ash collected from Henwick Charnel Lane. Invaluable to hunters with weak blood tinge who require the use of stronger firearms. Just powers up your ranged attacks with guns specifically for a short time. Kinda useful. And very appropriate to the area we find ourselves in. Trying to make sure we get everything, because I think we might be able to meet an NPC here at some point. Maybe just not yet. Or maybe the NPC I'm thinking of is elsewhere. Well, one or the other. A whole lot of our next stream, like tomorrow. Twin Bloodstone, very good. That's like the next step in the reinforcement line. A whole lot of, like, maybe the first 30 minutes of tomorrow's stream will be me just recruiting NPCs for the chapel and taking care of other housekeeping items like that. Oh, here's a couple more of them. As you can see, our dash here is way more useful, or the iframes it produces are way more useful than they were in the Dark Souls games. This is something that by and large would carry over into Dark Souls 3, I want to say. Like, the dodge is very, very useful and very generous with its iframes. Now here, we actually arrive at the level itself. Welcome to Hemwick Charnel Lane. Look at this place. Our goal is actually, I want to say, that very ominous-looking old manor off in the distance. And to get there, we're going to have to fight our way past the Hemwick Grave Witches. Oh, you're heading out, MC? Alright, man, thanks for stopping by, and have a wonderful rest of your night. Or actually, no, sorry, since you may be our only viewer right now, we may call it right now, as I have a bit of work to do. No, no worries, we're actually calling it now, never mind. I just looked at my thing and we're 3.5 hours in. Much longer than I thought we had been streaming. So I guess until next time, tomorrow, probably starting at 2 p.m. this time, a little bit earlier, this is it for Bloodborne. It's been a wonderful first stream. I hope you guys have enjoyed. And whether you're catching this live on twitch.tv or after the fact as a VOD on YouTube, thank you so much for spending your time with me this afternoon. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will be back tomorrow with more Bloodborne, hopefully taking on the next 3 to 4 bosses. Have a wonderful rest of your day, ladies and gentlemen, and bye-bye.